welcome each and every one of you back to Beyond 60 Unscripted. This is where we unpack topics that are important and just interesting to people who are looking to be the best versions of themselves at 60 or beyond. Today's conversation is one that I am excited about and one that I have been looking forward to for a very long time because it discusses the challenges of how we think about beauty, how we think about aging, identity, and what it means to truly what I'm going to call come home to being yourself. My guest today is Janice Cosby Adams, or Jan, as many of you may know her. Jan, is it okay if I hope it's okay if I say your age because you've been telling your age.
Yes, absolutely.
Jan
Sure.
is 69 years old. You will not believe it when you see her. She is exquisitely beautiful and radiant in every sense of the word. And one thing striking about Jan is that she has had gray hair since she was in her teens. That was one of the first things I noticed about Jan when I met her. And Jan, I don't know if you remember this, but I said, Jan, how do you keep your hair so beautiful? Her hair is absolutely beautiful. So, today many women are choosing to embrace their gray hair because it is fashionable. It is everybody's there's blue, there's purple, pink hair, and gray is just another one of those things. But what makes this important for people beyond 60 is that they are embracing their gray hair. And if you want to color your hair, so be it. But if you don't, you don't. The other thing you need to know about Jan is she's an author and she has a newly released book, which I am going to share right here. And it is called Grayfully Wisdom from My Hair. And Gratefully describes her transformative journey of authenticity, revelation, wisdom, and understanding of beauty, identity, and truth, which have all been gained as each gray strand emerged. So we're going to talk about confidence, societal expectations from our own family sometimes, I think, beauty standards, aging, self-acceptance, and what it really means to grow into yourself over time. So Jan, welcome to Beyond 60 Unscripted. I am just so excited and so happy that you're here.
Thank you so much, Ruth. I am just honored, elated, and excited to be here with you. I'm a big
Well,
fan of yours, you know.
and likewise, we have a mutual admiration society. Thank
Yes, we
you.
do. You're welcome. You are welcome.
Before we get into the deeper parts of our story, Jan, please tell our audience just a little bit about your background
Mhm.
and about what you've learned about dating while gray, about the myth of aging alone. These are all topics you address in your book, redefining beauty, aging, and power. I love all these topics because your hair has become more than hair. Your hair has become a platform. It's
Right.
become a teacher, a witness. These are all things in your book and books and almost a companion through different seasons of your life. So tell
Right.
us a little bit about Gratefully before we get started.
Yeah, so thank you, Ruth. My gray hair, I have had this gray hair most of my life. And I started getting strands when I was actually in elementary school, believe it or
Yeah.
not. And of course, the older that I got in high school, I had even more. And by the time I was in college, I was salt and pepper. And I really didn't think anything of it. It wasn't a big deal. But
Yeah.
before I get to that journey of the gray hair getting grayer, I think that we're always trying to find inspiration, something to inspire us.
Yeah.
But we're
Right.
always looking outside of ourselves. We're
Yeah.
looking, on Facebook or Instagram, or we see a star or somebody that we admire,
Yeah.
and we want them to inspire us. But when I started writing this book years ago, I knew that I wanted to write a book about my hair.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that people would think I was crazy because I was
Yeah.
writing a book about my hair. But my hair has been the most consistent thing in my life. My gray hair has been the
Yeah.
most consistent thing in my life, more so than friendships, husbands. It's my gray hair has been with me through thick and thin.
Yes.
And so
yes.
I knew I wanted to write this book because honestly, my gray hair has broken barriers. It's opened doors for me.
Yeah.
And so my gray hair, a lot of times we don't like to say that we are inspired by something that we've done. It's almost like we were afraid to, it's like bragging.
Yeah.
Self-promoting. And that's why I was so hesitant about even admitting what I was writing about when people would ask me what I was writing about. But my gray hair has truly inspired me. And so that's, it's been with me longer, and gray hair is wiry, it's stubborn, it doesn't like to lay down, but it's manageable. And that's pretty much who I am. That's my life. And
well,
yeah.
You certainly talk about that in your book. And since I've known you, I'm so jealous of your gray hair. It's so pretty. So, but before we dive fully into your story, I want to talk a little bit about our Beyond 60 Buzz, where we look at a story, trend, or idea that has people talking and connect it back to life after 60. So, Jan, I know that you were also very involved and interested in fashion. Yes. So today's buzz comes from a Yahoo creators article, which is entitled Why Many Fashion Editors Say Personal Style Gets Better After 60. Now, that's not what we always see, but the article makes a point of connecting beautifully to your story, because style after 60 is not about chasing trends. It is about presence. It's about confidence and knowing yourself and knowing what you are and who you are. Right. And so it's really, it helps you to bring about a stronger sense of self. And I hear you saying that. Does that ring true for you? Just tell us a little bit about that.
I think it can get better if you allow it to. Okay. I think getting older, I run into a lot of older people. And when I mean older, I'm saying, let's say 50 and above.
Yeah.
They will tell me, oh, Jan, you look so pretty, you look nice, you take good care of yourselves. And I used to do this. For some reason or another, when we get a certain age, we feel like we don't have to try new things, new trends, new styles. And we kind of wear the same old look. I think but there are women now and men who are stepping out there and are just going for it. You're not trying to impress anybody, but you're doing it because you want to. You want to freely express yourself. And I certainly abide by that rule. I still I'd like to dress sexy. I know how to dress comfortably, but I don't want to be comfortable in old fogey either. I'm not embracing that.
Right.
But I think that the older we get, we feel freer, and we're not really concerned about what people think. Yeah. So we do step out there, and we're just so fly. We can be fly. We can be 60, 70, 80 and fly. And that's the way I feel about it. We can, and then also believe that we are still beautiful, that we are still sexy, that we still have it going on.
So, that's really important, because when you say that, and when I read this article, in addition, what it says to me is beauty doesn't have to be about trying to look younger. It's being yourself, like you said, looking gorgeous, looking fly, just being yourself.
Right.
And capitalizing, as you did on your gray hair. And that's not the only thing you have, but I mean, it really is kind of your signature. And so would that be right?
It is. And let me give you another example. Here's a brand you probably remember. I'm sure your listeners, your viewers know this former model, like Lauren Hutton.
Yes.
She was a model. Now, Lauren, she was a regular looking model, but the one thing that Lauren had that other people didn't have was that gap.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Gap between her teeth. But that was her signature. She made that into something special. And then, you know what that did? People started closing their gaps because that gap became really, really sexy.
It did.
And she was known for that. So I think it's really all about embracing who we are, accepting who we are. It's okay to look different. And unfortunately, Ruth, the problem is that why do we embrace that when we turn 60 or 65? We're free, because we're trying to be a part of the the crowd, be
Yes.
like the Joneses, when we're younger, 30, 25, and 40. But I would challenge my younger friends and sisters to embrace, be natural, be who you are, start it at an early age too.
That is so important. So with that, let me just transition a little bit, Jan. I want
Okay,
to start at the beginning,
sure.
when all of this began. So take us back to your teenage years, which is such a formative time, because you just talked about younger people being willing to embrace themselves. Tell us a little bit what it was like to first notice that your hair was turning gray, and how you then fit in when most people, how you decided not to fit in, so to speak, all the
Mhm.
way, because most people are trying to fit in and they're trying to look like everybody else. Tell our listeners a little bit about that.
Yeah. So again, I did have a few strands when I was in elementary school. My mother and father grayed early. My
Okay.
father had beautiful hair and he colored his hair. Back in the day, he used this
Yeah.
product called uh, Great Day for Men.
Sort of like the one now
Like
called
yeah, the
Just for Men or something
Just for
like that.
Men. So
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
then it was some product called Great Day for Men. And so my father, he had this beautiful head of gray hair, but he would color it. But my father did a very poor job of coloring his hair. As a matter of fact, it looked so awkward. It was like a green color. Okay.
Okay.
Then my mother, she grayed early too. And she would get her hair done, beautiful hair. Then she'd have my aunt come over, who was a beautician, come over to our home and color her hair. But then guess what mom did? As soon as my aunt left, she would plop on her wig.
I saw that in your book. I saw
This is the craziest thing. I mean, but there was this stigma about gray hair. So when I started getting gray hair as a younger woman, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to color it. I'm just going to step out there. And actually I liked the way it looked. I thought it was cute. And people would always sort of challenge me and say, hey, Jan, are you going to color your hair? Back then, I don't know if you remember this, Ruth, we used to have hair sprays.
Oh, yes.
Remember that? Where
Yes.
they came in all different shades. And I don't even know if they still make that product anymore, but
They do.
they
They
do.
do. They
Okay.
do.
Where you could spray it. And I would do that occasionally because I wanted to kind of look cool like the other girls did. But that would wear off and everything, and it make your hair kind of brittle.
Yep.
But I
Yeah.
just became so comfortable with looking different. I kind of dressed a little bit different. When the square toe shoes came out, I was wearing those shoes. I remember the girls telling me that I looked like George Washington about the feet.
Oh,
But
kids can be so cruel, but clearly it didn't deter you.
It really didn't. I don't know why it didn't deter me. I don't have an explanation for that. But I've always kind of marched to a different beat when it comes to fashion. So I was the right person to have the gray hair and, to try to rock it. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever feel any pressure at all from your peers? You sort of hinted at that, but any pressure from anyone to hide or change your gray hair, Jan?
Yeah, I did when I think around my 20s, I had met a young man
Hmm.
who I really liked. And one of my friends' girlfriends said, you know what, G, I just think you'd do better if you dyed your hair auburn, that would look a really pretty color on you because nobody wants a young girl that's got gray.
Yeah.
And he's going to think that you're going to be gray within 10 years is not going to want you. You're going to look old. And I really thought about that and really that did affect me for a minute. And
Really? Okay.
it did. And I did spray my hair during that time with some
Uh-huh.
spray, but I didn't look like myself. I
Mhm.
felt I looked, I don't know, I didn't know a lot about being authentic or owning your look back then, but I just didn't like the way it looked on me. So I just kept rocking the salt. I was salt and pepper back then at that time.
Mhm.
So I was just very comfortable with it.
And Jan, how did you feel? Do you remember how you felt when you decided this is who I am? I'm not going to cover up my hair.
Yeah, I think I felt empowered. I think I like the idea of owning me. I
Okay.
just didn't want to feel like that I had to copy someone.
Okay.
I didn't want to copy anyone. And for some reason or another, I didn't see gray hair as old,
Okay.
because I think that's immediately few years ago, and not, but I still today, when I talk to women, there are women who are 80, 90, who have gray hair and they're, dyeing it dark, very dark.
Mhm.
But I just never felt that gray hair meant old. I never
Yeah.
bought into that.
I guess it was so much a part of you from the early strands in
Mhm.
your school age years to teenage years.
Mhm.
So there's it's really powerful because it was something you lived with. It's just like you referred to Lauren Hutton's gap.
Right.
It was something she had, and it
Mhm.
became a part of who she is.
Right.
So that seems to me that uh, gray companion, so to speak,
Mhm. Mhm.
gave you the courage and confidence that this is who I am.
Right. But I will also tell you this, Ruth. There were times when I talk about it in the book, and I don't know why this happened to me. I was at a conference in Chicago. And again, you can read about it in the book. And I was in a room of people, executives, and I just freaked out. I got really nervous because I kept looking around the room, looking around the room.
Hmm.
And I noticed there were very few people of color in the room. I've been around that, no problem.
Yeah.
But the thing that freaked me out more than anything was there was nobody in the room with gray hair.
Okay.
And I had some of my employees were there. My boss was in the room, and I just freaked out. I thought about, do they see me as old? Do they see me as outdated? Am I relevant? And it just hit me. I just had a moment where I felt like, I do they see me as
Hmm.
uh, relevant? And I had to pull myself together. I left out of that conference room, went into the bathroom, and looked at myself in the mirror. And then when I came out, I ran into a woman who said to me, "Oh my God, your hair is beautiful."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, thank you." And she looked at me and she said, "I need to show you something." And she raised up her bangs, and you could see just the edges of gray in around her hair and her hairline. And she said, "Listen, you're bold. I admire you. I have gray, but I'm too chicken to wear it." And she said, "There's so many women in there that have gray hair." I couldn't believe it. She just gave me just so much confidence in that
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
And she said that I was courageous. She admired me because she thought I was courageous and bold for wearing my gray hair.
When I first saw your gray hair, Jan, I didn't think about that. Although I know you're all those things, I just thought it was just beautiful, and I wanted. I was like, I want my hair to look like that. But it just goes with you. So there's a reason for everything, and this just suits you so well.
Thank you.
So over the years, and fast forward to today, beauty standards have shifted a lot. And even though before they could be pretty forgiving, and they can still be pretty unforgiving,
Hmm.
especially for women.
Hmm.
Um, when you meet people who don't know you and don't know your story, do they sometimes make assumptions about your age or anything about you?
Yeah, well, the first thing, it's confusing. It can be very confusing because I have this full head of white hair. Some people will challenge me and say, "Well, Janice, not gray, it's silver, it's still gray." It's just gray hair. But people will always want to know my age.
Yeah.
They always question that because they don't get the face and the gray hair. And then also the style that goes along with it. Again,
What?
remember, people think of gray hair as old
Yeah.
and aged
Yeah.
and, bent over and not very, relevant. They always say that men with gray hair, you look distinguished,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
women with gray hair. So, when people approach me, it's usually the age thing, and it's usually how do you get your hair so white, and how long have you been? It's a whole conversation. People get it in your business. It's the best conversation starter in the world.
Oh, I'll
And
bet.
it is. I mean, my friends, my family, I'm sure it gets on their nerves all the time because I am stopped by men and women. And the crazy thing about gray hair, especially when you have a funky cut and it's current, men love it. Men seem to love it.
Well, it does look good on you. It does. So, do you consider yourself an influencer? Because I kind of think you are, because you're helping people to gain the confidence to go gray. Do you consider yourself an influencer?
I didn't. My sister now tells me, my sister Natalie tells me that I was a brand before I knew it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, now that I look at Ruth, probably because I was an influencer before influencers were popular.
And before we even had that name, influencer.
Absolutely. Because, I was great. People would look at me and they would say, "Ah," and I would encourage others to kind of go gray or try, because I would tell people, listen, you can rock your gray hair. If you don't like it, you can always color it.
That's right.
Try it and then color it.
That's
And
right.
but I will tell you, most of the people that I have encouraged to go gray, they love it because it just does something. It lights your face up. I
Yeah.
don't care what your complexion is.
Yeah.
So I guess
Yeah.
you could say, yes, I do. At this point, especially this age, I do consider myself an influencer. So, and it feels good. So I guess I've been influencing for a while now.
I know. I know. Does it give you, in a sense, some sense of validation? You don't feel like you needed that, but does it on some level give you some sense of validation that
Yes.
it validates your journey and your decision early on to be yourself?
Right. Because absolutely, because I do not feel also that gray hair has aged me.
Yeah.
I don't. And I think that's the reason, that's what how they translate wearing gray hair. If I wear gray hair, it's going to age me. And so, I think that you can become comfortable in your grayness if you just give it a try. Just give it a
Yeah.
try.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, you're truly striking, not just because of your gray hair, but because of your overall presence. So you are. I mean, and I think what I hear you saying, and well, this I'm going to ask you this.
Mhm.
Um, what do you tell people who may not have gray hair but may have a gap, like Lauren Hutton, or some other distinguishing feature that
Mhm.
they have viewed as sort of a burden, but it could be a blessing in a way?
And you know what? I just did a talk recently to a group of young women. A trend, you were mentioning trends earlier.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
trend started because someone was courageous.
That's right.
There was
That's
one
right.
person who started that trend, and everybody copied that trend.
Yep. Yeah.
My book could have been about freckles, Ruth.
Yeah.
It could have been about owning your freckles.
That's
It
right.
could have been about owning your big floppy ears. It could be owning a thin nose, a narrow nose. It's really about becoming comfortable in who you are, your authentic self, embracing and owning. Um, Unfortunately, in this society, there are certain features that we see as beauty standards.
Yeah.
I believe that's changing. It's changing slowly. And now all different types of features are being embraced. There's an asymmetrical look
Yeah. Yeah.
that is this European standard, but it's like I said, the gap, uh, lips, now we're
Yeah.
putting fillers in our lips
Yeah.
because that's attractive. It wasn't attractive 25 years ago.
It was
wasn't.
maybe, I would say even maybe 10 or 15 years ago, it wasn't as attractive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look at the bodies. You and I grew up in the era of Twiggy.
Yeah.
Now it's about the shape. It's about I'm a shapely girl. I'm a booty. You are too. I know your shape. You're a very shapely woman. That's a good look. That's a new look. That's something that we need to embrace. If you're thin, rock it. If you're shapely, rock it. Try to be who you are. And we all are a trend. We can all start a trend. We are a trend. We just don't
Yeah.
know it because we don't embrace it.
Well, that then I think you've said it, but that then leads me to saying, what does feeling beautiful mean to you at this stage in your life? You just said a lot of the things, but is there something like, how has your definition of beauty changed over time? Your own, not just what society says, but your own. And what does beautiful mean to you at this point in your life?
At this point in my life, beauty to me means being present,
Mm-hmm.
having a presence,
Yeah,
and sharing what's inside of you too, along with what's the outer part of you.
yeah,
Because a lot of times we just want people to see the surface.
yeah,
But if you can merge the two together
yeah,
equally, and you can show the energy that's within you, the
yeah.
kindness, the everything that's within you as a person,
Yeah,
I think that's unstoppable because you can meet plenty of beautiful people out
yeah,
there.
yeah,
But if you don't have the personality and your aura, your presence, your countenance, your grace, that all counts. And that to me represents beauty. And at this point in my life, Ruth, I'm really very deliberate
yeah,
about sharing who I am as Jan.
yeah,
I was a, chief marketing executive. That was a
yeah,
role, that was a title, for a
yes,
national health care
yes,
system, that.
yes,
But that was the front, you
yeah,
know. But who is Jan really?
yeah.
That's the beauty of Jan more than anything. Who I am on the inside and how that manifests itself on the outside of me.
That is so important because as you become more confident in yourself, more self-acceptance,
Yes,
then you start to accept yourself. And I just have to believe that shows externally as well. And I heard you say
absolutely.
that
Mhm.
you got to start from the inside with self-acceptance and move to the outside, and it just goes on you to do
Absolutely.
that.
And
Yeah.
people will see that.
Yes.
People
Yeah.
will see it and they will feel it.
Yes, they will. It
Mhm.
does. And what I'm hearing you saying is that while people fear aging, you're wearing it with ease, and we all should wear it with ease.
Yes.
And I also hear you saying that people will see that inner self-confidence, that inner glow if you let it shine.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So
Mhm.
what do you wish women in their 30s or 40s? You alluded to this at the beginning, but I want to come back to it. What do you wish women in their 30s or 40s understood about getting older, 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever age, when people, whatever, because it's different for every person.
Mhm.
If someone starts to say, "Oh, I'm almost 30, I'm feeling old," or "I'm almost 40 or almost 50," what do you wish people knew about getting older who are younger at this point?
Mhm. First of all, I think that women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, and I mentioned this on a panel just recently, they need to really acknowledge that they are getting older because I do believe that their
Mm,
30s and 40s, I think we feel that we're going to look this way the rest of our lives,
yeah,
that the way we look. But we are aging. We're aging every day. And
that's true.
30-year-olds are aging, 30,
Yeah,
you're not the same. Every minute, every hour, every year, we are aging.
yeah,
That's number one. Number two, I would tell my youngins, because I have a lot of young women that I've mentored. I'll
yeah.
just tell them, number one, take good care of your skin.
Mm-hmm.
Take good care of your health. You don't start it when you turn 50 or you have an ache, you start exercising,
Yeah,
or you see you have a little blemish or you have a little wrinkle. You need to start taking care of yourself now.
yeah.
And I believe that's the one thing I actually did. I've always loved skincare for some reason. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
And it will all tell on you. And I would also tell young people, um, say to yourself every day that you are beautiful,
Yeah,
that you are
yeah,
deserving, that
yeah,
you are somebody. Own it. Look yourself in the mirror. I
yeah,
don't care if people think, if they feel that you are being arrogant, believe in yourself and own who you are. try to be as authentic as you possibly can. And that is so challenging today
It is.
in social media. And, again, the trends, try to be, you set a trend.
Yeah.
You be a trend. Don't copy. I was around a lot of young people recently, and I noticed no one in the room, everybody had long hair. Nobody had a short,
Mm-hmm.
sassy cut. Everybody looked the same.
Yeah.
Break out of that mold. Break out of it.
Yeah.
And own something different. Be who you are. You don't have to look like the person standing next to you.
Jan, there's such a quiet, but what I'm going to call a bold courage and confidence in your story. You're not attention seeking, you're steady and unwavering. And I am so thankful for you sharing your journey with us. It's a reminder that confidence isn't something you wait for, it's something you decide, it's something you embrace. And heard you say, look in the mirror every day and say, I'm beautiful. And to say, I'm going to be confident. And once you start to tell yourself that, you start to believe it, because we tell ourselves all the negative things and we believe those.
Yes.
And, we got to tell ourselves the positive things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not arrogant, it's not prideful, it is just accepting who you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And doesn't that just shine through? Don't you know how you see a person when they just walk in there, you see another person walk in the room and they're just kind of, but then you see another person. I mean, oh my God, they just radiate. It's not that they're the most beautiful person in the room, but they just have confidence and style and class. And there's this aura about them.
Yeah, they own the room and they stop conversation in the room.
That's inward. That is an inward thing, pushing outward.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So to everyone listening, I want to just say, maybe there's something you've been hiding that needs to be embraced or celebrated. Maybe there's something that has just bothered you about yourself that you're finding difficult to accept. I will say the model, I think she's a model, either model and actress, Winnie Harlow. I don't know.
Yes.
Her name, who has
vitiligo.
And she, I'm sure she grew up with this, and yet she's a model and she is different and she is embracing who she is.
Yes.
So that is, and whatever it is that you think you have or that is holding you back, it can also set you free.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, yes.
So Jan,
as they do, look, Ruth, as they do. Yes, yes, yes.
So as we close, do you have any final words or lessons learned you would like to share with our audience?
I think that, again, we're all searching for inspiration.
Yeah.
And believe me, I would challenge all of your viewers to find something within themselves that can inspire them and others. We all have it. We just have to embrace it and claim it. And also stop putting off for tomorrow. Do it today. Whatever you do, try to do it today. And if you don't, start over again tomorrow. Start it again tomorrow. Start it again.
That is wonderful. And before we go, I want to remind our audience to purchase a copy of Jan's book, Grayfully, Wisdom from My Hair. And Jan, where can people get your book?
Yes, they can go to my website, jansgrayglam.com, and that's gray with an A. I always spell gray with an A, not an E. So that's jansgrayglam.com.
All right. All right. So now I'm going to close with we always close each segment with a silver lining, where we offer a reflection and a takeaway on something about living well after 60. So today's silver lining is this: retirement can just be a beautiful time to stop dressing for who you are, who you thought you had to be, and start showing up for who you really are. And we touched on that in your conversation. For many people, and Jan, you touched on this too, because you had a big job, yes, in a national system. For many people, work comes with a uniform, whether it is literal or emotional. But I hear you saying that you can play with that a little bit. You don't have to be just straight up and down.
Right.
You need to dress for professionalism. You dress for responsibility. You dress for expectations, but in retirement, you can sort of let it go. You still want to look good, you want to be fly, but there can be a chance to ask, what makes me feel alive? What makes me feel comfortable in my own skin? What have I always wanted to try that I couldn't try when I was working? Maybe it's letting your hair go gray. Maybe it's wearing brighter colors. I used to wear black, navy blue, or brown all the time. This blouse in pink with black polka dots is a, believe it or not, it's a bold move for me, and I'm trying.
And you are wearing it. You are rocking it.
Thank you. You know, but maybe it's wearing a brighter color, choosing comfort without having to apologize for it. And I heard you say something about taking care of your skin, your body, your hair, and your spirit in a way that is loving instead of feeling bad or corrective. So the final tip for this week is choose one thing about your appearance or your style that you've been treating like a flaw and ask yourself what would happen if you treated it like a part of your body that you could build around. Because beauty at this age is not about disappearing, it's about arriving. So, Jan, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your wisdom, your perspective, and everything you've learned. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us for another episode of Beyond 60 Unscripted. We hope today's conversation reminds you that beauty does not end at a certain age. It deepens, it changes, it becomes more honest. So this week, today, take a look in the mirror and try to see not what time has taken away, but what confidence and life has helped you to become. Until next time, keep growing, keep glowing, and keep becoming the best version of yourself at 60 and beyond.